as a now ex-Mormon atheist person who loves gay people and loves immigrants, and most of my friends now are brown. I'm the minority in my friends group, and started just listening to the pre-campaign stuff. And I could no longer tolerate a word out of his mouth, couldn't tolerate JD Vance. And more than anything, what it was that hit me during some of that pre-campaign stuff was just the hatred, the divisiveness. Like when you really sit back after leaving MAGA and listen to how much them versus us comes out of MAGA, it's stunning. Like everybody, the eating the dogs and the cats, some of the stuff around immigrants, some of the stuff around women as we were leading up to the election. So one day I whipped out my laptop and again.
Did you just hear that? That was not a liberal pundit talking. That was a former MAGA believer. That was someone who lived inside that movement, and she is describing the exact moment the spell broke. Now here is why this matters. This was never just about one slogan. It was never just about one election. It was about identity. It was about belonging. And yes, it was about fear. When Jenny points to that ugly pet-eating claim, she is pointing to something real. Reuters reported there was no evidence for that story. Local officials said the claims were not credible, and yet the lie spread anyway. So ask yourself this: if a movement needs fear this wild, what is it hiding? If it needs neighbors to hate neighbors, what does it really stand for? By the end of this video, you will see how one Trump supporter walked away, and you will understand why that story hits much bigger than one person. That clip is the key to this whole story. Jenny is not saying she liked Trump a little. She is saying she attached meaning to him. She heard a rescue story. She heard order. She heard family. She heard religion. She heard a promise to turn the clock back. Here is what they are not telling you. That is how movements like this grow, not first through policy, first through emotion, first through identity, first through the feeling that you finally found your people. And Jenny says that directly in her longer written story. She describes a life shaped by rigid religion, hierarchy, and obedience. So when Trump arrived, he did not feel foreign. He felt familiar. He sounded like authority. He sounded like certainty. This is important because many Americans still ask one question: how could so many people fall this hard? Part of the answer is simple. MAGA offered a moral script. It told people who was pure. It told people who was dangerous. It told people who belonged. And that bigger structure matters right now. PBS reported that Trump and his allies pushed plans that would roll back LGBTQ protections and promote a narrow, so-called ideal family structure. That is not random campaign noise. That fits the same old promise Jenny said first pulled her in: a return to a rigid America, a smaller America, a crueler America for everyone outside that box. What this actually means for you is this: if you only argue with Trump as a politician, you miss half the story. For many followers, he became a worldview, and until that emotional bond breaks, facts alone struggle to get through. Now look at the official record. The city of Springfield says Haitian immigrants there are in the country. Legally, the city also says there is no evidence for the goose story. Reuters reached the same bottom line on the pet-eating claim. So this was not confusion. This was a lie that kept moving, even after officials knocked it down.
Church one Sunday, there was a lesson that was entitled The Evils of Homosexuality. And 10 minutes into that lesson, I just couldn't take it anymore. And what's ironic about that is that my whole entire life, 44 years up until that point, I had also hated on gay people liberally. I knew that they were evil, and I know that you and I have talked about this before. And if you go to leavingmaga.org and look at my story, then you can read a little bit about this. I had inadvertently, through no choice of my own, been forced to be friends with 3 lesbian couples through my Mormon multi-level marketing business that I was running as a little trad wife. And somebody signed up these lesbians and they started coming to my house all the time, these different couples. And it was the first time in my life that I had really come face to face with people that were supposed to be the most evil thing in the face.
This may be the most important section in the whole video, because this is what propaganda looks like when it meets reality. Jenny was taught that certain people were evil. Then she met those people and the lie started cracking. That is how deprogramming often begins. Not with a speech, not with a party ad, with human contact, with lived experience. This is outrageous because the same political machine still runs on that same poison. Pick a target, call them dangerous, call them unnatural, call them a threat to children. then demand power in the name of protection. PBS reported that Trump openly campaigned on rolling back LGBTQ protections. Reuters reported that false anti-immigrant claims around Springfield were
Party
condemned by the
affiliation,
White House as
because that
dangerous
is
and
still a
rooted in
core
division. That is the
identifying
pattern.
issue
Different
about
targets,
me,
same
Jenny Gage.
playbook,
So
and
who
every
am I?
American
Am
should
I
know that this
Republican?
strategy
Am I
does real
Democrat? Am I
damage. It
independent?
trains
Do I
people to
just
see
need to
neighbors
move
as
to
enemies. It turns fear
Ireland
into
or
identity.
Mexico
It turns
or something?
cruelty into
And
virtue.
I got
I
out a
believe
little notepad.
stories
I
like
grabbed
Jenny's
one of my
matter because
notepads
they
and I went
expose the
through like
mechanism,
the
not
actual
just the headline,
policies
the
that
mechanism. She
Republicans
is
have voted
telling
for
you
in the
how
past
hate is
decade,
taught, how it
Democrats,
gets repeated,
what
and how
the
it can
party
be
stands
broken.
for, and what
But let me
MAGA in
be
particular
blunt.
stands
A
for.
democracy
And when I
cannot
got done,
survive
I had
on
checked all
permanent
these boxes and I
scapegoating.
was like, oh
It just
shit,
cannot.
I'm a
Once
Democrat.
politics becomes a hunt for internal enemies, truth stops mattering, then policy becomes punishment, then power becomes revenge. So yes, this is personal testimony, but it is also a warning. If someone can be taught to fear gay families, immigrants, and anyone outside the tribe, that same machine can be aimed at anybody.